Patton Township Board of Supervisors, April 27, 2022, meeting at 5:30 to order. Announcements. Welcome all, especially our new residents, township residents, to the Patton Township community, a place for all. As you are able, please rise and join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is additions to the posted agenda. Is there any items that the supervisors would like to add to the posted agenda at this time? Supervisor Whitman?
You know what, I actually should have made this during the announcements. I just want to make a corrections further down in the agenda. Primary day is on May 17th.
Yep.
Not May 18th. So I wanted to announce it now at the beginning of the meeting when most people are listening, and I'll probably say the same thing when we get there in the evening. We don't want anybody trying to vote on Wednesday.
Yeah, somebody pointed that out, and I thought I corrected
That's
it,
right.
but I apologize.
It happens.
All right, moving right along.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public comments. Residents and
Oh, yes,
taxpayers may address the board on issues of interest to the township. Comments related to specific agenda items should be deferred until that point in the meeting. If you are attending by Zoom, please use the raised hand feature of the Zoom application and wait for the chair to indicate it is your opportunity to speak. If you are attending in person, please approach the podium and wait for the chair to indicate that it is your opportunity to speak. Please be respectful and defer from using any profanity, derogatory or offensive language, abbreviations or gestures during the meeting. Respect is always given by this board, and expect the same in return. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. Are there any public comments at this time? Sir?
Yeah, my name's Barry Feinberg. I live in Park Forest. As before, I'm here to voice some concerns about the ADUs and the duplex initiative that's being talked about and proposed. I'm certainly not in favor of it. I've voiced that opinion, not because I'm against income-guided housing in any way. I don't support the way it's being proposed to be done, taking a development that's been in existence for 50 years as a single-family neighborhood with young kids, young adults, a way for starters to buy into a home and start their journey on home ownership. I find it interesting that, again, Park Forest R2 is what I call a targeted area. I don't see any initiatives being talked about in Saddle Rock, Pantops, any of those areas that are quote-unquote the higher-priced neighborhoods. We in Park Forest value our neighborhood as much as the folks in Pantops and Saddle Rock and those other neighborhoods. We really don't want to see it change to allow it to become a rental neighborhood. I have a couple questions. I'll probably direct them to Doug because he may be more into this. I printed off the task force housing report, and I find some interesting information in there. One of the things that's being proposed by the Planning Commission is to change the zoning, the parking zoning requirements to allow for more on-street parking so that the developers do not have to incur the expense of paving their lawns or driveway and incurring their expense. Has any of that been discussed, how the parking will be handled in the future if this goes through? Doug?
Well, you've been, I think, at most of the planning commission meetings about affordable housing, correct?
I have.
So you know that issue has not been discussed yet at the planning commission level.
Okay. From a township position, how will the township handle things such as snow removal, leaf and brush pickup, when you have more cars parked on the streets? Right now, we have a number of rental properties on Oakley Drive. They invariably park multiple vehicles on the street during snowstorms, so the guys doing the plowing have to work around them. The streets are not completely cleared. Anybody who lives in the area who drives on Oakley Drive, which is a shortcut typically from Valley Vista to Douglas, knows that the street has a hill, many hills going down, a downgrade slope. It's also curvy. I've lost 4 mailboxes due to people losing control on the curve where we live. My neighbor has lost 5. As you drive down towards Douglas, the slope of the hill incurs more. I've seen people slide right across Douglas into the Lee's property several times. So these are unforeseen circumstances that nobody seems to have an answer, and quite frankly, nobody seems to really give a darn about. So before it gets to be an ordinance, I'd like to get some answers how that would be handled. That will certainly impact the development and the way we live. The other issue is you're talking about increasing the property density in that area. How will parking and regulation of how many people can live in an ADU? The ADU can be divided, or the primary residence, as I understand it, can be divided into perhaps as many 3 units, the primary and 2 ADUs. Who gets to live where? Nobody, as Doug mentioned, I believe at one of the meetings, there's no regulation on where the primary resident has to be. It could be one of the smaller ADUs, and the larger unit could be rented out to students. The person who is the property owner is not required to live in the property, as I understand, for any duration of time. That's open-ended. So he or she could own the property, theoretically live in the ADU, if at all.
Mr. Feinberg, your time is up, and thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
I know there's a large audience here. Could I at least finish my statement? Could I at least get that kind of respect?
Well, I'm going to give you a minute and time that.
Okay.
And I appreciate your comments, but go ahead. Thank you.
There's no regulation, I guess, in place, and I'm not sure it's even been discussed on who needs to live in what part of the property. The property owner could theoretically live in the ADU. He's not required to live there full-time, from what I understand from what Doug said. He could then theoretically live in or rent out the larger primary unit to a group of people, not necessarily related, that would cover the mortgage. He has a free bank, somebody paying the mortgage by the renters living in that property. Again, there are so many consequences that have not even been thought out from what I can see in this initiative. And it's very concerning to me as a resident who's lived in that area for 35 years.
Thank you. It hasn't been brought up to this board yet. I know the planning board has been meeting and discussing that, so as soon as they review it and they bring it to us, we will review it as well with your comments.
One other question. I brought up the fact that the last time a survey and a questionnaire was put out to the residents before this got too far down the path. I've not received a letter, and I've not seen a survey.
Okay,
Will
we'll follow up on that.
Will that be coming?
We'll follow up. I'm sorry, Supervisor Abrams.
Who and when should the survey come out? Should it come out before the planning commission looks at it?
Well, the planning commission is working through a set of questions to answer all these questions and many more than what Mr. Feinberg has talked about. So, until the planning commission has a more concrete set of regulations or proposed regulations, I think it would be a little premature to send out a survey. We don't know what are we surveying on at this point.
Okay,
Thank
but when they are deliberating, I think there should be, before they deliberate or decide anything, they might want to.
Well, they won't decide anything until they send a recommendation to the board. So once they make a preliminary decision of what they think they should move forward with, that would probably be the time for them to send out a survey, collect those survey results, digest that, revise their recommendation as warranted or as they deem needed, and then send a recommendation on to the Board of Supervisors.
I was one of the first residents on Oakley Drive, and I understand this concern greatly.
Okay.
If I may, I would suggest a letter because most people don't go to the website to see that survey, so they'll never know the survey is out there. A letter is more impactful.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Payne, I thought I saw your hand up, sir?
Yeah, I put it up. I just wanted to note, I'm on the planning commission, and most of the things that Mr. Feinberg has brought up are still in discussion.
Okay.
And as far as street parking, Patton Township does have an ordinance, especially for the wintertime and snow plowing, that cars have to be off the street when there's 2 inches or more of snow. But anyway, most of the things he's brought up is in discussion, and we're quite a ways away from determining anything. It's an ongoing process. It'll be going on for a while. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment at this time? Thank you. Right. We're moving on. Next on the agenda is the presentation and public hearing from Cnet and the annual update.
Suzanne has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Santana. I am so sorry.
There did appear to be a commotion over here with some language, and I was just curious. I was just curious if something needed to be resolved.
I don't think so.
Okay. Was there? It seemed like there was an issue that needed to be resolved.
I'm sorry?
There just seemed to be like an issue that you took the issue with, and I just wanted to know if you needed something resolved.
No.
Okay.
This gentleman just asked me a question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your observation. Okay, our next on the agenda is Cnet annual update. Doug, would you like to give us an introduction?
We have with us tonight Executive Director Cindy Hahn and our appointed member to the Cnet Board of Directors, Dave Gustines, on Zoom, and they're going to provide a brief presentation on the history, programming, and future of Center County's government and education access channel, fondly known as Cnet.
Yes,
All right, welcome.
fondly known.
Welcome, Cindy.
Well, thank you very much. I am joined by Dave Gustine via Zoom, and we have a presentation for you. I have to say it's really wonderful to see all of you in person. I don't think I've been here to present to you in person for 3 years, since 2019. So, Dave, would you like to begin the presentation?
All right, sure. So the next slide, the highlights for last year.
Can you slide it forward?
If we could have that up.
There we go.
Number of things to talk about and list here. Hybrid meetings became the norm in 2021. Each organization arrived at its own solution for providing hybrid meetings. Cnet returned to having a full complement of Penn State interns in the summer of 2021. The next item, 511 programs were produced by Cnet staff in 2021, which is pretty close to 10 programs per week. Represents an increase of 13% from 2020. And finally, added Amazon Fire to over-the-top viewing options. And then the next slide shows programs which are live streamed on YouTube or cnet1.org. And I won't read them all, I'll let you all read through the list, but there are 13 programs that are available through those means. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Thank you. Just to pick up on some specifics of Patton Township programming, the township sponsored a total of 39 programs last year. 4 of those are the weather, the meteorology students at Penn State produce daily weather forecasts and a weekly weather, 15-minute weather show that we air. And Patton Township sponsors about 25% of that programming for the students. And so that makes up about 4 of those programs. In addition to that, of course, I know you've all seen the Housing Task Force videos that we produced for you last year. And then in addition, your Supervisors, Planning Commission meetings, and 2 Spring Creek Watershed Commission meetings last year for a total of 39 programs. Next. There were 55 bulletin board messages. Most of those, of course, are agendas. We value those at 1/10 of a program. So the 55 messages make up an additional 5.5 programs that are attributed to your sponsorship. So you do all the math and you come up with a grand total of 44.5 programs. So in 2021, the township sponsored just about 8.4% of all of the Cnet programming by all of our member organizations. The year before, that had been 8.5%. So you can see that your sponsorship over time is really very consistent. You don't have lots of highs and lots of lows, but you're really sponsoring a very consistent level of programming. Next. This graph shows you the last 5 years, 2017 through 2021. Looks like the sponsorship is gently increasing, but again, not dramatic. If you look at the last 5-year period of time, 2017 through 2021, the township sponsored 8.35% of the programming, and the previous 5-year period of time had been 8.38%. Now, this is important because our funding formula is a 5-year rolling average. So when we determine, for example, your 2023 dues, we're going to look at your sponsorship between 2017 and 2021. So heavy years drop out, heavy years move into the formula, but it's basically a 5-year rolling average, and that's how we determine what your annual financial contribution should be. Next. And this graph is showing you all of our member organizations over the past 5 years. So I have the little arrow pointing down to Patton Township, pretty much steadily in the middle of the pack. The largest user of our services is State College Borough. with Center County government in second place, and the State College Area School District firmly in third place. Next. So just to review for you, of course, your meetings are televised on Cnet Channel 7 on Comcast. They are televised live. They are streamed live on YouTube, and the meetings are rebroadcast Saturday at noon, Monday at 6 a.m., and Tuesday at midnight for the night owls. The Planning Commission meetings follow that same airing schedule, but on an alternate week, and are not televised live. Cnet1.org is where you'll find both of our channels. Channel 7 and Channel 98 are both streamed live on the website, and the programs remain available to view on our website for a minimum of 12 months. One of the features of that online programming that I hear that people appreciate very much is the chaptering, the indexing of agenda items, so that viewers can go to an online meeting, click on the agenda item they're interested in, and be taken right to that point in the meeting. So the online meetings have that feature. Next, please. We are also on Roku, Apple TV, and now Amazon Fire. So we have really worked very hard over the past few years to expand our distribution network so that between cable TV and our website and YouTube and all of these over-the-top services, we're trying to make it very, very easy, really, for everyone to be able to access the programming. Yes?
I think we see here clearly why Netflix has had some trouble in the last month or two.
That may be true. We are not on Netflix. Yes.
Supervisor Trevino.
Cindy, I have Roku, but I don't recall seeing CNET programming in the main menu as an option. How do we find it?
Yep, I'm going to send you an email with the instructions, but the basic way to find it is to look under, I believe it is community or special programs, and you go to that and you pick PEG.TV. PEG stands for Public Educational and Government. So you would pick PEG.TV, and we are there as a featured program with lots of other community media channels from across the country. But I will specifically send out those instructions to you via email.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Supervisor,
Is there a way, can we shut that door?
I was getting ready to ask
I'm
you to
really
do
distracted
so.
by.
I'll go ask them to move farther down the hall.
Thank you.
Our preference is to leave the door open, so
Okay.
if it's an open
I
meeting.
just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even before we pay attention.
All right.
So cable television viewing, the people who watch your meetings on TV, that is considered proprietary information by the cable companies. So those of you who've been here a while know that I can never give you any cable TV viewing data. But what I can give you is I can give you some online viewing data. So we know that on the Cnet1.org website, since January of 2021, the board meetings have received an average of 82.9 views per meeting, with another 50 views on YouTube. For Planning Commission, they're not as popular as you are. They're receiving an average of 70.9 views on our website and 22.3 on YouTube. Next. I wanted to remind you, because it's been a while, of the importance of your franchise. It's a very dry topic, but the reality is that none of this happens without your franchise agreement with Comcast. The franchise was negotiated by the CAC, which is the Center Area Cable Consortium. All 8 municipalities of the CAC have an identical franchise, and it provides for Patton Township to receive 5% of Comcast revenue within your township as franchise fees. So for the township last year, that amounted to $226,973. The franchise also provides for a subscriber pass-through, which comes to Cnet of 22 cents per subscriber per month. So people will see that 22 cents on their Comcast bill, and that is forwarded to us to provide for capital purchases. So our members do not pay capital. The members only really pay operating costs because we receive that capital money from the cable company. There's a provision for one HD channel in the future, and we receive the ability to be listed on the Comcast digital guide, which may sound like a very small thing, but quite frankly, I do not know of another PEG organization in the country that is able to be on the digital guide. But it is in our franchise, and it is very important to us when people are scrolling through the channels that they can actually see what is on. And finally, just wanted to remind you, help us help you. Some of the things to keep in mind, speak directly, please, into your microphones. The best distance for you to be from your mic, Sue John's moving. The best distance for you to be from your mic is about 6 to 12 inches. So if you can avoid leaning back too far, that is always helpful. And Chair Rob and your manager do a wonderful job of insisting that the public come to the microphone, and that is very, very important, that they come to the microphone and that they stay at the microphone. So I have a little note there about muting your laptop microphone and speakers if you are participating in an in-person meeting. So that concludes my presentation. At the will of the chair, I could answer any additional questions. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Cindy. Supervisor Abrams.
Well, I think that the excellent job that you've done means that we should pass an ordinance preventing you from retiring.
I'm going to have to discuss that with my husband. Thank you.
Okay. Any other supervisor at this time? Supervisor Whitman.
I'm curious, I'm impressed by the increase of 13% in programs produced by Cnet staff. What brought that about? Was it, I suspect it was more than just COVID.
Oh, I think that COVID really is responsible for most of that. The only thing that, in addition to that, I would say that we picked up in 2021, we're now doing the Harris Township Planning Commission, and so that is adding some programs every year. UAJA is a relatively new member, so that is adding some programs. But it would be disingenuous for me to suggest that COVID wasn't the main reason with all of the cancellations in 2020.
Okay. Yeah. Is that increase, that annual increase then unusual? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Larger than usual.
Be interesting to see if it plateaus or drops down. We certainly are changing a lot of the way we do things because of COVID. Okay. I'm just impressed with that. Thank you.
Cindy and Dave, thank you both for this outstanding presentation. And you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right. Next on the agenda is public safety. 4A is
Noise.
Thank you. Was it waiver request at 614 Devonshire Drive? Doug, you want to?
Yeah, the board looked at this 2 weeks ago and requested that staff reach out and notify neighbors and get input. Staff did do that. We sent out letters to the 15 surrounding properties that were within 250 feet of the back of 614 Devonshire. Received comment, and we also requested comments from Ferguson Township, Chief of Police and Manager and the board. We did get several replies. 1, 2, 3. We got 3, 5 of the neighbors have replied that they have no objections. We got a reply from the chief of police of Ferguson with no objections. Reply from the manager of Ferguson Township that their board is not meeting until May 3rd, so the board cannot provide comments at this point. Mr. Rader, the owner at Sec 14 is not with us. I emailed him a little while ago. I don't have any other contact for him, but so I'll just turn it back to the board and see how you'd like to proceed tonight.
Doug, on one of those letters that you received, we did have a recommendation that the music end at 9 p.m.
Yeah, correct, yeah. The owner, Mr. Rader, had revised his request to end the music at 9 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. So that's what went on in the letter. Thank you. I forgot to mention that.
Alrighty. Is there any supervisor that has a question? Supervisor Arena?
I don't have a question, but I'm satisfied that we reached out to the neighbors and we don't have any.
Sir, are you here to speak on this issue, or, okay?
So I'm ready to move that we
Second.
grant this noise waiver request.
Okay.
Second.
Can I get a second? Any discussion?
I just have a quick question. So you did say that Brian Rader revised his
Till 9.
To 9
schedule
p.m.
Okay.
He sent me an
I
email.
thought you said that and then.
Yeah, and
I didn't see
then,
that.
so I incorporated that into the letter. And I
Okay.
forgot to.
Gotcha. It's, okay, thank you very much.
I know it said 10 in the agenda, and I was gonna mention that and forgot that too.
No problem.
Traveling will do those things to you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passed. All right, moving on. Next on the agenda is the project update for license plate reader. Chief Jolly.
Yes, thank you. So as part of the 2021 capital improvement plan, we included funding for an automatic license plate recognition system, otherwise known as a license plate reader. That was approved by the board for, again, the 2021 capital improvement plan. We did encounter some delays with COVID, but I'm happy to say that all the hardware and everything arrived here and was installed onto one of our fully marked police vehicles on April 13th, so about 2 weeks ago. Just as a reminder for the board, the system, basically it reads license plates and notifies the officer when there's a plate that matches a list of vehicles that have been entered into the system for any variety of reasons. Some of the things that it will detect are stolen vehicles or wanted or suspect vehicles. It can assist in locating suspects wanted in a criminal investigation or possibly individuals who have active arrest warrants. It can help locate witnesses or victims of violent crime. And really importantly, it can help us locate missing children. So for instance, an Amber Alert, maybe a missing elderly person with a Silver Alert, or any other type of missing person that maybe we might encounter. So we're excited to get this technology. It's a very contemporary thing. There's installations all across the state of Pennsylvania. We're the second agency here in Center County to install it. Spring Township has had a system in place for about 2 years now. But in the short 2 weeks here that we've had it, it's proven to be a valuable tool already. It's identified many vehicles in our area while on patrol with expired and suspended registrations. So we assume that it's only a matter of time until we come across something that's more important, like a missing child, maybe a stolen vehicle, something along those lines. So I will keep you updated. Like I said, it's very new to us, so we're still learning how to use it. But I'll keep you definitely updated if it helps us encounter one of the major issues that, like I just described. So that's all I have.
Okay, any supervisors at this time? Have any questions for the chief? All right. Thank you, Chief. Moving right along is Public Works Operations Project Update 2022 Overlay Program. And Doug?
Go ahead, Ken.
Ken.
Ken Soder is
All right, Ken. Thank you.
I just wanted to give you folks just a little bit of an update. Last fall in the road report, we had 5 road segments we looked at that we were planning to work on. Looking at the way the numbers are coming in at the moment with the drastic increases we've had with things happening, I think that's probably going to be pared down to about 3 road segments at the moment. I did include just some budgetary numbers we were using. I got copies of some completed contracts that Ferguson Township had opened last week, and it actually supports those budgetary numbers we're working with. So,
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from supervisors for Ken? Seeing none, thank you, Ken.
yep.
All right, next on the agenda is engineering, planning, and zoning, and there are no items. Next on the agenda is administration, and there is no items. Next is the consent agenda. Doug?
Just have the minutes from the last meeting.
All right.
I-
Supervisor Whitman.
I'd like to move that we accept the consent agenda.
All right,
I
second.
second the motion.
Third.
All right, discussion. Move, can I get a vote?
All those in favor?
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Right, motion passed. Next on the agenda is the management report. Doug?
Just a few items. We've got our annual letter from the Center County Planning and Community Development Office. They operate the West Nile Virus Surveillance and Control Program for Center County. West Nile virus has been around now for, I'm going to say almost 20 years, if not longer. And it's carried by mosquitoes, can infect humans. So the state of Pennsylvania uses this county program to monitor and check and do control as needed. So if you are noticing lots of mosquitoes in your area, or you think there's standing water somewhere that should be tested or investigated for possible mosquito control, Center County, this Center County office, Planning and Community Development Office, the gentleman in charge of the program is Wayne Lobsher, operates out, phone number is 355-6791. You can contact the county directly, or you can contact me here at the township, and I'll relay information. So if you notice large numbers of mosquitoes, they can come out and trap and test. I'm not sure if they're collecting dead birds or not this year. Last year, I think they were collecting only crows.
They're not. The first page.
Okay, I see that.
says they're
Thank
no
you.
longer
Yeah,
because of the avian bird flu, chance of spreading avian bird flu. So
Okay,
they're
but
collecting-
dead birds can be forwarded to the Pennsylvania Game Commission. So the other thing, so mainly they will go out and set traps for mosquitoes. They will collect those mosquito traps and send them down to Harrisburg for testing. And they'll come back and say if we have West Nile virus or not, and provide notices. They also can do some mitigation, some spraying. If there's areas, if your neighborhood has large numbers of mosquitoes, they'll come out and do an assessment. And if needed, they do have the capability to fog an area to reduce the number of mosquitoes. And obviously, as we do talk about every year, it's important that all residents and look around their homes and reduce all those areas where we have standing water where mosquitoes typically breed. So that information is there. I did attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the Whitehall Road Regional Park. Cindy Solik, our representative from our Recreation Advisory Committee, and our representative to this Parks and Rec Authority was there also. It was, even though the weather was not good, it was well attended.
Thank you.
And the contractor has started. And things are on schedule, so that project is moving forward. In terms of scheduling, township offices will be closed May 30th and July 4th. Household hazardous waste collection is this weekend. I didn't get a chance to check their website and see. You have to pre-register, so if you have stuff and you haven't registered, yes, go to their website and see if they're still opening. I don't know if there are or not. Bulk waste collection is May 9-13, center gives May 10-11, and the primary election date is Tuesday, May 17th. End of my report.
All right. Thank you, Doug. All right, moving next is the committee reports. Is there any supervisors that would like to add to their committee report? And I do recall Supervisor Trevino.
Yeah, Finance Committee, we didn't submit a written report to the board, but most of what we discussed in Finance was part of the general forum agenda. So those of you that attended the general forum meeting Monday night, this past Monday night, already heard that. One thing I would mention that really I don't think was mentioned at the general forum was that the Finance Committee asked staff to begin work on the development of a fund balance policy and further request that the above-named Center Region Finance officers comprise a working group to bring fund balance policy to the Finance Committee for its review no later than July 14th. So that was a motion that was approved by the Finance Committee. End of my report.
Okay, any other supervisors would like to add to their reports? Supervisor Whitman.
Actually, it's, committee report. The solar power purchase working group met this morning, and Larry Pager put together a great set of notes, which I was able to edit. So you'll get those next week, but I just want to emphasize, I think we said this before, Larry and I, are supposed to let everyone know that we are your representatives to this purchase power. We'll be discussing it on the May 11th agenda, I believe. It's very complicated. If you have any real questions, you are free to ask me, but I will turn around and ask Larry. So you would do just as well to ask Larry directly. It's very complex. Larry sits on the advising group, the core group. I forget the exact name of it, which is why I could ask Larry for that. Thank you, Larry.
Project management team, yes.
Right.
Okay, is that the end of your report?
Yes.
Supervisor Trevino?
I attended the PSACS meeting early this week, along with Pam, Rob, and Alex Cappuccini and Ken Soder. I was designated by the board as the delegate from our township. And I just want to report on what happened to the resolutions.
Mm-hmm. Great.
The procedure they followed at this meeting was that each resolution was taken one by one, okay? Mm-hmm. We didn't have anything that the board discussed that we wanted to have voted on and that we would support were not until we got to resolutions 24 and 25. The resolutions committee had opposed them, and the procedure they followed for resolutions that the resolutions committee opposed was that if a delegate wished that one to be discussed by the entire group, someone had to move to present it to the whole at the entire meeting and with a second from a different delegate. The two that we wanted to approve that the resolutions committee opposed, the first one was about seeking legislation to provide funding for all municipalities to complete sustainable Pennsylvania community certification, et cetera, et cetera. And the other one, resolution 25, to seek legislation to prohibit discrimination in areas of employment and housing based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. Those two resolutions did come before the entire group. Both of them were defeated by the general group. So even though we supported those two resolutions, the general PSATS group defeated those. The remaining resolutions, 26 to 50, were existing resolutions that were due to expire. I don't remember what the time limit is on how long they are active until they expire. But anyway, the procedure for those was if someone wanted to pull one of these resolutions from the block, because they were going to vote on the entire block without taking them one by one. Again, a motion had to be made to pull a resolution from the block with a second from a different delegate. The two that we wish to support or to oppose, the one about prevailing wages, both of them were regarding prevailing wages, exempting townships from having to comply with the state prevailing wage law. They were moved to be considered, but there were no second. So they failed. So all the rest of the resolutions from 26 to 50 were voted on as a block and were approved by the membership.
Well,
Supervisor Whitman?
yeah, I just want to thank you for taking our thoughts to the PSATs. Were you the one, I assume, that then made the motion, and then there was no second, as far as the prevailing wage?
I think I moved on one of them.
And then no second?
And someone else had already moved and seconded the other one.
Yeah. Thank you.
And people spoke in favor. But we clearly, those of us who wanted those resolutions passed were a big minority.
I think it's important to carry that voice, so I thank you for that.
These two resolutions were also presented last October at the business meeting, and they were both defeated as well at that meeting.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Supervisor Torino, thank you for representing us. Any other supervisor have a question? And for the record, it was the PSAT conference that we all attended instead of just a meeting. I also want to be on record with the executive board report, which is coming out on our next meeting. But I also would like for the board to be thinking about, one of the questions that came up was meeting in person. We've all talked about it, meeting in the general forum and other committees. It seems that giving you flexibility is what we favor instead of just coming in person. And some of the other officials were in agreement that it was easier for some of us that are coming from meetings to go to the meetings by Zoom instead of always trying to make it there in person. So at our next meeting, I will be talking to each of you to see your feelings on that. But, okay, Supervisor
No,
Torino?
I agree with you. I much prefer to have the option of hybrid meetings. Like when I was sick with a cold, I was going to come to an in-person meeting, but I wanted to participate.
Right.
And the Zoom meetings also are very accessible to the general public.
Yes.
So they don't have to go in person if they want to watch the proceedings, or even make a comment if they're attending by Zoom. So I would be against requiring in-person attendance at all meetings.
Okay. Any other supervisors?
I just
Supervisor
wanted
Whitman?
a clarification. I missed the opening comment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Well, we'll include this on a future agenda too.
Okay.
Okay.
But that was other business that you're bringing up and came
No,
from,
that's on my executive committee report.
okay, I
that-
wanted to clarify it was from the
Okay.
executive committee. I thought it was from PSATs at first.
Which
Okay.
we'll be talking about.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
direction I got from COG was that we should include it on a future meeting and
Perfect.
report back, I think, in
Okay.
in
Great,
June or
thanks.
something, so we'll.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Other businesses? All right, seeing, sir,
Sir, did
do you have anything?
Okay, I'll just observe.
Oh, we didn't want to put you on, we didn't want to put you on the spot, that we overlooked you. But before I call for next on the agenda, on other business, at the PSAP conference, one of the speakers was the Pennsylvania treasurer, and she talked about unclaimed property, not only for individuals, but for townships. And for individuals that are looking, they have $4 billion of unclaimed property and claims. So I'm getting ready to give you a number that you can call. And so you can see whether you have any claims of the state, which is funding from, they were saying, from old bank accounts, insurance policies that you forgot about. There is funding. And to let you know, transparency, Patton Township, they said townships had claims. And Patton Township did have some funding coming back. So to anyone that's out there, the number is 800-222-2046, and that is the Unclaimed Property Call Center. Their email is tupmail@treasury.com. So if you have a moment, please check out. You may have some funding coming back to you. So thank you again. Next on the agenda, I call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, everyone. I guess I need to say, all in favor, say.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Don't you dare.
I already said aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. This meeting is now adjourned.